Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for joining me for another edition of Electric Avenue's YouTube updates. I'm back in the store today. If you had an extra almost an hour to burn the other day, you would have seen that I did one of those videos that's been going around 10 albums that you grab the most, spin the most, currently playing the most, that are sort of like maybe like old friends or something like that. And of course, my list was like 25. So I apologize for the length of that. I wasn't intending it to be that long, but eh, go figure. That's what she said, right? Okay, so new releases. Hey, well, I suppose the big new, at least the big new news item of the day is that this little lady, um, little TS here, just announced 1989 Taylor's version coming out October 22nd. This one just came out, Speak Now, about a month ago. We still have a few copies left. It is on Orchid marbled vinyl. There are 3 records in here. And from the vault, she not only redoes all of her own songs, which she's doing basically to establish her control over her catalog. But and many of you know that story by now. Maybe young people don't. I don't know because, well, I would think they would. But it's sort of been a couple of years now, a few years since that was talked about, and she's been doing these for a little while now. But anyway, Fall Out Boy and Haley Williams from Paramore feature on the new tracks on that. The ones that were left in the vault unfinished originally. So this week is kind of, again, a sort of a hodgepodge as the summer can be. I feel like it's mostly reissues. There are some new things thrown in here. And I have some upcoming news later in the video about new releases coming in the next month or two that you might want to stick around for because there's a lot of information there. So, to get started, the big new release of the week probably is Neil Young's Chrome Dreams. And this is an album that some people say, well, I had a bootleg of this or whatever. This is material that Neil recorded back in 1977. Never released it or released it in different versions. It's sort of like the album Homegrown he put out a couple years ago, where the songs got farmed out to different projects. So 12 classic Neil Young songs, 74 to 76 studio recordings, feature 2 previously unreleased versions, 4 tracks never before released on vinyl, a 3-sided double album with etching on side 4. I don't know why they do that. Has something to do with the running time and the spreading out of the tracks, but mastered from the original analog tapes, the Neil Young Archive Series, Disc 6, if you're keeping track. So this is, unfortunately, it's not a cheap record. Neil, I don't know, his people know how to milk that, I guess. I sort of was watching something yesterday and they're like, oh, well, it's like the record companies are testing people to see how far they'll go. I think they've sort of they're reaching their peak here. But this does have almost 50 minutes of music. It does feature Star of Bethlehem, which I think and Homegrown, which are on Homegrown, Powderfinger. So anyway, yeah, new Neil Young. And well, there's always more Neil Young coming, right? I mean, we just had the box set up here, which was the archive box set from last month that featured Ragged Glory, Freedom, and Arc Weld inside, and 9 records for a couple $100. But and it's on CD too. A new record from Jungle. They just put out a record a year or two ago, and it was probably their most successful, I would think, so far. At least I don't know, it seemed like it was because whatever the single was, it was getting played everywhere. But it's sort of like UK dance pop kind of sort of soul. I don't want to say it's not really underground because it's pretty popular. But anyway, new Jungle record. These guys are sort of like a legacy act at this point. The Hives, Swedish punk pop sort of alternative. This is called The Death of Randy Fitzsimmons, and this is exclusive cream vinyl. I don't know if there was a sticker on the Jungle. Didn't have a sticker on it. I'm not sure what color that is. But the Hives, you might remember, they were the band that always wore like the suits that matched, and but were still kind of edgy and fun. And I always liked the Hives. I thought they were great. Um, Another sort of legacy act, Public Image Limited. This is Johnny Rotten's new album with the band called End of World. It's a 45 RPM double LP. Um, yeah, his wife just recently passed away. He's been much more vocal politically again lately, or I don't know, maybe not recently, but I don't know. Johnny's never at a loss for words. Let's put it that way. And then a new live record from Liam Gallagher. Let's see, he had a live record a few years ago that was maybe it's just a couple years ago. It took place on a boat or a barge on the Thames, and this is live at Nebworth 22. So from last year, got the tricky sort of fold out cover art here. Features mostly songs from his solo records, except it does at the end feature some Oasis rockers that are sort of standbys. Well, actually, there's quite a few Oasis on here. Rock and Roll Star, Slide Away, Cigarettes and Alcohol, some might say Supersonic, Wonderwall, and Champagne Supernova. It's pretty much like kind of like a newer Oasis album, since we're not getting Oasis albums right now. And I could say, well, why are they doing that? You know, I mean, I know the fighting, blah, blah, but they actually, I kind of enjoy their recent solo records. I'm not going to lie. So, anyway, Khruangbin, this is another in their series of live records. This one features the band Men I Trust, and then a bunch of Khruangbin titles too. Yeah, they've been doing this series. I think this is the third. They said they were going to do 5 of these. So if you're really into Khruangbin, and I think a lot of people are, it's sort of like they're like kind of on a mini King Gizzard level where they're trying to kind of do that. But I think if they want to be King Gizzard, they're going to have to really start cranking out more studio records. That's all I got to say there. All right, so reissue time. Hey, David Bowie reissue. This is the Ziggy Stardust motion picture soundtrack. It's been redone on gold vinyl for the 50th anniversary. Basically, it's like a concert album. So it features a lot of stuff from the Ziggy and Aladdin Sane period. It does have Space Oddity. I think it doesn't have much from Hunky Dory, although, well, it has Oh You Pretty Things. I don't know. It's a classic. A lot of people know that, or they've seen the movie. There is a CD, a double CD of that, and a deluxe CD that also features the Blu-ray of the film. Sort of more high definition style. All right, another reissue of the week, Elvis. This is live from Hawaii, Aloha from Hawaii via satellite. Well, I'm sorry, Hawaii, you're having a very rough couple of days here. But and Elvis, his birthday is coming up August 16th. Oh no, that's his death date. That's right. His birthday, I think, is like January. Anyway, it had something to do with like Madonna's birthday too. Is the 16th, August 16th. So I remember that for other reasons too. But yeah, there's a lot of Elvis live Prime 50th anniversary edition. So 73 was when this was done. Burning Love, Steamroller Blues, An American Trilogy, Suspicious Minds. Ends with Can't Help Falling in Love and A Big Hunk of Love. Whole lot of shaking going on. I see Hound Dog. Um, has his infamous 2001 Space Oddity intro. And if you want even more of that set, you can get, there's a CD box set of it. It's a little smaller. And it's a box set, but it does feature more music. It's 3 CDs and a Blu-ray, but a lot of them are rehearsal takes of songs. So you get a few versions of the Hawaiian Wedding song, and well, it's just a more expanded. I think this might be a couple of nights, because it looks like pretty much similar set. One night has 25 tracks and one has 22. So, okay. Well, more reissues. We get De La Soul, the next one in the series. We're kind of moving up through their career now. Artificial Intelligence, Mosaic Thump. And we not only get that, but we get AOI Bionics at the same time. I think the reason for this is that last month there was no De La Soul reissue, and they were supposed to be putting them out every month, so they must have gotten behind or something. For a while it was taken off the schedule, and now it's back on, and it's here. So these are a couple of more hip-hop classics from one of hip-hop's greatest bands. And if you're interested in cassettes, there's Artificial Intelligence, Mosaic Thump, and AOI Bionics on cassette. Woo! Watch that be the screenshot. Another great hip hop classic being reissued, Lupe Fiasco's Food and Liquor. This is a little more sort of, I guess, modernish. 2006, I think, is when this came out. Gosh, has it been like 17 years since this came out, or what? I mean, that's a long time. 2006 Grammy nominated debut. Yeah, it sure is. Wow, that's longer ago than I thought it was. Time seems to compress the older you get. Speaking of which, we still have a few De La Soul. I want to say 3 Feet High and Rising. Yeah, that's it. We still have some of those in stock. We got them back in at one point. The Locks. Another, like, if you were into like P. Diddy, Biggie, all that stuff. This is I believe a Bad Boy. Yep. Sean Combs is the executive producer. Yeah, and this was, I don't know, this was kind of a big seller back in the day. Maybe not as big as the other two that I mentioned, but it did well. So some people might be looking for the Locks. And thank God we finally got another. I mean, it's been a while. I don't know when the last time I saw this was. Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, The Message. It's being reissued on vinyl, featuring The Message on Bronx Ice colored vinyl. What is Bronx Ice? Someone from the Bronx is going to have to tell me. Some great photos. Wow, I forget that Keith LeBlanc and Skip McDonald, Doug Wimbish. I forget that all these guys played on this record too, because they became sort of like industrial music guys later, but funk too. This features She's Fresh, It's Nasty, Scorpio, It's a Shame, Dreamin' You Are, and The Message. So 7 tracks. Some of them are kind of long, but that's a classic for sure. Wow, the classics, they just keep coming, really. So we get The Cult, Sonic Temple. This is released on green vinyl, featuring Firewoman, Edie, Chow Baby. This was one of their biggest hits, I think. By this point, they'd sort of really kind of established themselves. So um, and kind of not just at indie radio or college radio, but rock radio as well. And then another cult record, Ceremony, and this one's been a little harder to find on vinyl, I think. This one has Sweet Salvation and Wild Hearted Son. I think I had already started working in record stores. This is going to show I've said how long I've worked in retail, and guys I worked with used to play this album constantly, and the other one as well. But that one seems to really like resonate with me as sort of a long play. All right, one of my favorite shoegazy bands of the late 80s, early 90s, Lush. And they had a box set out about 7 years ago for Record Store Day, which is impossible to find now or not pay for, like, through the nose for. So we're getting individual reissues. This is their sort of debut album, Spooky. Gala was really before this, but it wasn't really an album. It was more an EP collection. And I love this 4AD artwork. This is remastered from the original analog tapes, 1992 studio album by Lush. I'm not sure that the stuff in the box set was remastered from analog tapes. I'll have to check that. But limited clear vinyl edition. And if you're into more Lush, their follow-up Split, which looking at it now, it probably should have been like a real big breakthrough album for them, and instead radio didn't really know what to do with it at the time because grunge was so popular. But the two main women had really great songs and interesting, dreamy, ethereal kind of voices that sort of blended, but at times they could get a little bit like edgy and or more like amped up. But yeah, it's basically like dream pop and sort of like the shoegaze, sort of, I say shoegaze is kind of like the term, but sort of like fuzzy kind of psychedelic 80s 90s pop. Probably my favorite album of theirs, and I think it was sort of also controversial at the time because they sort of changed sound a little bit, but was Love Life. And this album was poppier and a little, like, not punkier, but it was just more beefed up and less dreamy. And it had a great duet with Jarvis Cocker on it. Had the song The Child Catcher, which is very kind of like creepy. And yeah, but Lady Killer's a great, like, man-hating song. Ciao is a great song. Anyway, Olympia was a wonderful closer, and unfortunately the drummer Chris Auckland committed suicide right after that, and that was the end of Lush. And then they tried to reunite in 2016, and personal tensions ran too high. They did like a 4-song EP and toured very briefly, and that was it. And so the one of the women, Mickey Berenyi, has her own band going now, Parashka. They put out a couple albums, so if you like Lush, check out Parashka because they're also quite good. I like their albums. The first one I thought was great. And the other woman, Emma, I forget her last name, but she has a solo record coming out, which is sort of making the rounds on news blips on music channels. So go look that up if you're interested. Another great sort of like alt rock band, a little bit later than Lush, but again, Lush was female fronted. It was sort of 2 women, 2 men. The Donnas was all women, so taking like the Go-Go's kind of lead. And I'm sure there will come a day that people will be like, why do you even have to mention that this was a big deal to have an all-woman band? Well, at this point, it really kind of was starting to become more, not mainstream, but it's much more kind of like it was much more out of the norm early, when people like the Slits or um, even the Go-Go's in the 80s. It was like more unique, the Bangles. But yeah, so just great music, right? So anyway, unfiltered, all analog punk rock, cut from the quarter-inch master tape, the Donna's raw, crude, and crazy fun 1997 debut album, featuring insert with their commentary on Natural with Black Swirl pressing. Yeah. So, Hello, I'm Gonna Be Your Girl, Teenage Runaway, Everybody's Smoking Chiba. You get the idea. And then another Donna's reissue. This one is American Teenage Rock and Roll Machine. This gets them a little closer to their major label years, but this is a 1998 glam punk classic remastered for vinyl from the original master. Includes the insert Fire Orange with Black Swirl pressing. Some great shots there. And this features Checking It Out, Rock and Roll Machine, Out of My Mind, Leather on Leather, Want to Get Some Stuff, Speed Demon, and more than that. All right. See, I said there's a lot of reissues this week. David Byrne with Fatboy Slim. This, I mean, you look at it and you go, is this album by Imelda Marcos? So David Byrne had written a set of songs called Here Lies Love that were basically based on the Imelda Marcos story of what she was like, an upper class aristocrat in, was it the Philippines, I believe, and she had the story of like she had so many shoes, like more shoes than anybody could ever have really or wear. And yes, so this basically is kind of like uh, sort of like a random sort of take on her story. But the cool thing about this, I mean, not only the fact that now it's being turned into a Broadway show, of course, but it features a ton of people on it singing vocals. It's not all David Byrne. In fact, very little of the vocals are David Byrne. Let me read you some of the people that are on this. I'll pick the big names that you'll know. Sia, St. Vincent, Sharon Jones, Allison Moore, Roisin Murphy, Cyndi Lauper, Kate Pearson of the B-52s, Santi Gold, Steve Earle, Nellie McKay, Florence Welch, Natalie Merchant, Martha Wainwright, Nicole Atkins, Tori Amos, and David Byrne. There are a few more, but you get the idea. So it's really kind of a collaborative type thing. David says on the back is, the story I'm interested in is about asking what drives a powerful person, what makes them tick, how do they make and then remake themselves. Interesting. All right. Another incredible reissue, Julie Cruz, Floating into the Night. This is one of my all-time favorite records, not just because of its association with Twin Peaks, but because it's just such a mood piece. It's wonderful stuff. She has such a light and airy vocal on this, and she passed away, unfortunately, a couple years ago, maybe even last year. She wasn't very old. I think in her 60s, maybe 70. I'm not sure, but anyway, it's very dreamy. The music was all done by David Lynch and Angelo Badalamenti, who did the Twin Peaks soundtrack, and he passed away recently too. So this has been picked up by Sacred Bones Records and features Floating, I Remember, Rockin' Back Inside My Heart. Into the Night is such a dramatic song, especially the one sort of surprise moment. It's a very haunted, dark sounding, dreamy sounding record. My favorite, well, obviously I think most people's favorite track is probably Falling, which is the theme from Twin Peaks. But this is on hot pink, no, just pink vinyl, sorry. Yeah. Julie Crew's critically acclaimed 1989 debut is a narcotic jazz-infused dream pop album about and the unofficial soundtrack to the cult series Twin Peaks, thanks to the instrumental version of Falling. So, and she was the one that always was singing in the Roadhouse whenever they showed a singer. Um, there's some interesting stories about her relationship with David Lynch online. If you're ever sort of looking around, they had sort of a tumultuous relationship, I think. All right, Sun Ra Standards. This is another reissue from Sun Ra, limited to 500 units, pressed at Palace. This is gold vinyl, and pressed at Palace is one of the best pressing plants in the world. So I guess I should be happy that we have this. This is on Org Music. I think they've pressed this before, though, maybe just in different colors. So when they say 500, it's 500 in that color. But Innocence Mission, We Walked in Song. And Innocence Mission are an interesting, I think they're mostly a duo. Well, it might be sort of a trio, really, but it's Karen Paris and her husband. And Don is just an incredible guitar player. And this is an album they did in 2006, recorded in Lancaster, PA. So I don't know how limited this is, but color vinyl with bonus tracks. It's on the 16th anniversary. I don't know why. I guess you would commemorate the 16th because maybe it has something to do with the lyrics of the songs. There's a song called Happy Birthday on here. So, but anyway, very dreamy and interesting, mellow, usually mellow. A couple of things that came in late last week that I didn't show, I don't think, in the video, but had pictures online. Maybe I did show them. I don't think so, though. Swerve Driver's Rays. This was limited to 1,500 copies on flaming color vinyl. This is early Swerve Driver, 1991, Creation Records. And then Mezcal Head, which is the other Swerve Driver. These were, again, music on vinyl, label 1,500, individually numbered on blue marbled vinyl. So yeah, blue marble and flaming color. And I'm sure they sound great because music on vinyl does a really great job. And even if sometimes, well, a lot, I don't know, but I think a fair amount of their pressings are from digital transfers, but they can make digital transfers sound pretty great. So they sort of improved, actually, even from when they started several years ago. All right. Oh, before I get to that. CDs, there were a few new CDs, and they're on vinyl too. I just haven't gotten them yet. The Connells Ring, which the Connells were sort of a college-y band in the mid-late 80s, into the early 90s, I guess. Let's see, this features the album and then a ton of bonus tracks and demos. It's a 2 CD set, so if you like the Connells, it includes 21 bonus B-sides, live performances, and previously unreleased demos, remastered. Let's see. Ryan Bingham, his new record, Watch Out for the Wolf. This features 7 songs. I don't know how long they are, but it's on 30 Tigers Records. Ryan's had some success, been around for a while. The Cordovas. This is called The Rose of Aces, and they get compared to like Allman Brothers, that kind of southern rock. So I guess if you're interested, I would look up the Cordovas and see what they sound like. I'm sure there's got to be YouTube videos for that. And then Jonathan Blake, not to be confused with James Blake or Jonathan Blake is a drummer, jazz drummer from Philly, and this is his Blue Note Records. I don't know if this is a debut or not, but it is a Blue Note a Blue Note title. So that's pretty cool. All right. So yeah, I was going to kind of like give you guys heads up on some new release information I have. And one thing before I do that, real quick. So I did do this long video where I was like picking out like supposed to be the 10 albums that I grabbed my go-to albums the most, and it got really out of hand because I was up to 25, and I thought, oh, I could do more. And then after I did the video, I was like, I can't believe I didn't pick this. I can't believe I didn't pick this. So there were more, so I'm going to feature three more very quickly. One I'm going to feature is the Best of Suede, Beautiful Ones, 1992 to 2018. And actually, Suede is one of those bands that I play several of their albums, and I play them a lot. But one I really, really enjoy the most is probably Dogman Star, which is the second album, the one that Bernard Butler ran screaming from the band because, well, I don't know, I think they kicked him out afterwards because they couldn't handle whatever was going on in his personal life anymore. And uh, yeah, that's kind of I guess it would be sort of a controversial album in a way because of that. But so Suede is sort of glam rocky, British. Um, I like to consider them the bridge between the Smiths and what Britpop became with like Blur and Oasis and stuff like that. They were much more glammy, I think, than either of those two latter bands, and probably more glammy actually than the Smiths too. Very inspired by Bowie and Roxy and that kind of stuff, but it actually features. This is a best of more recent. I didn't have the Dogman Star album to show you, but not here. But some of the songs that I loved from that, the singles were like The Wild Ones, New Generation, and We Are the Pigs, which seemed to be sort of about like a police controlled state or something. But I suppose if you like Bowie and you like Pink Floyd a little bit, it kind of, there's a little bit of that element on Dogman Star. Um, there's some really dreamy songs on that album that I just love, like The Two of Us, Black and Blue, Black or Blue, the Daddy's Speeding, just some great. And the closing track, Still Life, is like epic. Big orchestra. Um, you kind of almost have to like. I think Brett Anderson, I love his voice, but I think it was sort of an acquired taste. If you're not used to the kind of yelpy aspects that he has, you may need to listen to it a couple of times to really get that. And he's sort of like toned that down, I think, over the years. But this is kind of a nice best of collection that encompasses really all their biggest singles from the early. And then they're one of the few bands, like very few I can think of, where you lose a member and then you put in a new member and they're just as successful. Like what Van Halen did that. This time they replaced their guitarist Bernard Butler with a 17-year-old named Richard Oakes, and I saw them on their, I think it was the second or third American show with Richard, and he blew me away. Brett blew me away. The band was great, and it was very sparsely attended because America really did not get them at the time or understand what they were trying to do. And the talent was just unbelievable, and it was a great show. So I've been a Suede fan ever since, and sometimes I'll mention it to an average American, and they're like, "I don't know them." They all know Oasis, but they really should know Suede too. They did just recently play in this city near me, and another show, and I couldn't go, unfortunately. But I would have loved to see them. Like, basically, it's almost 30 years since I saw them last time, so we're all a little bit older. All right. Another go-to album for me, Kraftwerk, Computer World. I might have mentioned this when I mentioned the other video, but I play a lot of Kraftwerk because I think a lot of modern electronic music started out in places like this. And this in particular is probably for me the catchiest album. Maybe I should say it's the most melodic record, which is interesting because it doesn't really have songs per se like The Model or Autobahn, but it does have all of these computer kind of themed songs like Computer World, Computer Love. Computer Love, people would kind of real if they heard Coldplay. Someone's gonna remind me of the song. There's a song that Coldplay sampled that totally like is like basically this Kraftwerk song, note wise, not like not the actual recording, but the tune. Pocket Calculator's fun. Numbers is fun. Computer World. The thing is, there are kind of upbeat, sort of happy melodies on this record, and then there's some kind of semi-sinister ones too. And you can see the computer sort of like dates itself in the picture, but this is a fantastic album. And if the band had already sort of by the time this came out set the tone for what they were capable of, and they did take a little more time between the previous one and this one, and then they started taking even more time, and then they sort of fell off the map as far as like a recording band. But I highly recommend Computer World. And it's very topical also. And in keeping with the computer theme, I didn't even plan this. Radiohead's OK Computer, which sort of answers the question of what happens if you have a computer world, I guess. But this is such a great album, and I was working in stores when this came out. And if I didn't play the Bends a lot already, which was their second album, this one I just was obsessed with, and I do go back to this album a lot and play it a lot still, and I'll never forget. And I don't think anybody, if you were alive, it's hard to explain this, if you were alive and listening to music and sort of aware of Radiohead before this, and you heard Paranoid Android for the first time, it literally blew your mind. I think because we weren't expecting like a prog rock kind of epic with all these changing tempos and slashing guitar solos, and it was just full of surprises. And paired with the animated video, it was just a stunning sort of thing. So, and that's the second track on this album. But obviously, Karma Police is a long time loved song. So is No Surprises. I love that song. The Tourist is a great ender, and yeah, I don't know. Airbag is great. It's just exit music for a film. I mean, it's a classic. But their Radiohead have a lot of classics, and I play a lot of their albums, but I felt they deserved a mention. And there were probably 10 more that I could have mentioned, and maybe those will come up in a later video. All right. I promised I would say some stuff about new releases, so here goes. So next week, August 18th, all right, because this was August 11th, 2023. I didn't even announce it at the beginning. Next week, Talking Heads, Stop Making Sense, the deluxe edition, remastered with the material that had originally been cut, re-added back to it, so you get Tom Tom Club's Genius of Love in there. Exciting. Hozier, his third album, comes out next week. Rhiannon Giddens has a new record that's all original songs. John Batiste following up his big Grammy win. And the two Blue Note classics next week are by Cecil Taylor and Anthony Williams. August 25th, new release from Alice Cooper. Weezer's Seasons Autumn comes out on vinyl. We did finally get summer, so we have spring and summer now. So this will be the third. There's a greatest hits from Alanis Morissette, which I think features the song from the soundtrack Uninvited, I believe, is on there. Which a lot of people might be interested in. Shania Twain reissues of her biggest albums on vinyl. Come On Over, I think, and the one that I think there's one more. And REM's Accelerate. So there were supposed to be two REMs coming out on the 25th, and the second one, Reveal, got bumped a week to September 1st. And Reveal is an album I've been waiting for a while. I like it more than a lot of people, I feel, but it's very much their summery kind of Beach Boys-y album. It's just a great, like, easy album to listen to. Let's see. That week also, September 1st, Slow Dive's new album after, what, a 7-year wait. Sigur Rós, which is already out streaming, and their beautiful new album, Atta, will be out. Neil Young, another live record, Odeon Budokan, new album from the Pretenders, which was bumped from the summer. And the two Blue Note Tone Poets, September 1st, are by Wayne Shorter and Big John Patton. September 8th, Olivia Rodrigo, her sophomore record. Royal Blood, their new release. New release from Tyler Childers. And I'm excited about this. Romy from the XX, her debut solo record. And the songs so far remind me of a little bit of the dancier side of Everything But the Girl. And then the two big live releases on the 8th. The 8th is a huge week. Live records from Fleetwood Mac's Rumors, and The Doors, live at the Matrix. Those are big new sets. Another live record from the Postal Service from their reunion tour. We get a new record from Sparkle Horse, which is an unreleased record. New records from James Blake, Chemical Brothers, and Low Cut Connie. Also, new release from Roisin Murphy. And Courtney Barnett has a soundtrack. There are two Prince reissues that day. The Batman soundtrack and Graffiti Bridge soundtrack. Linkin Park are putting out Meteora again on vinyl. Tori Amos is putting out Scarlet's Walk. Cowboy Junkies Lay It Down. Beastie Boys box set of Hello Nasty. Super Furry Animals Phantom Power. Morphine 2 releases, The Night and Like Swimming. And Marvelous 3 and Rooney, two 90s, early 2000s records with some popular songs there. And also, not to mention, Sun Ra has a Verve release, Albert Ayler has a Verve release, and Carly Rae Jepsen with her second part of her last album. So there's a lot, and that I'm skipping a ton of stuff. So this is just the stuff that I know of that you sort of would reach a general audience. September 15th, The Who, Who's Next box set, and then albums from Mitski, Explosions in the Sky, Baroness, Killer Mike, Corinne Bailey Rae, Josh Redman, Bob James, Steve Hackett, 30 Seconds to Mars, Corey Taylor, and then reissues from Woody Shaw, Jazz Dispensary, that's highly looked at, Roy Haynes, Verve Acoustic Sounds, Huey Lewis and the News, Sports reissue, and two Blue Note classics from Horace Silver and Jimmy Smith. September 22nd. I hope your pens are writing all this down. You're going to have to freeze frame it and go back. Tom Waits, 3 albums on that day. Swordfish Trombones, which has been out. These are remastered, though. Rain Dogs and Frank's Wild Years. A Replacements box set for Tim. Couple of reissues from Mogwai. The new Kylie Minogue album. A Breeders Deluxe Edition of Last Splash. Paula Cole's This Fire on vinyl. There you get your, finally, our Dawson's Creek song. Teenage Fan Club, Chai, Devendra Banhart, and Carol G, just to name a few. September 29th, new Wilco album. Brand new, and they're actually releasing it on the release date, unlike Cruel Country, where they made us wait 6 months. Grateful Dead, that is a reissue of Wake of the Flood. Jason Isbell, a reissue of Southeastern, and I think that's a box set as well. Or you can get just the album. Animal Collective's new album. Duran Duran reissue of their very obscure album Pop Trash. It's the only one they recorded for Disney's Hollywood Records. It's actually not a bad album. It's just kind of forgotten because it got buried pretty much. Hawkwind have a box set for Space Ritual. New albums from Blonde Redhead and KK's Priest. And then October 6th, just briefly, the other two Tom Waits reissues, Black Rider and Bone Machine, finally on vinyl. That's been sought after for years. And Van Halen, the Collection 2 box set, which features all of the Sammy Hagar stuff, plus some extra rarities and things. So, and then Taylor on October 22nd. Save your money, guys. No, don't save your money. You got to get out and start buying some of this stuff, because I don't think people realize how much stuff we have gotten in the store since the summer. The summer, the release schedule just did not stop. And I just was watching a video last night where some guy said, oh, last year we made 400, we pressed 400 different titles, and this year we've doubled our more than doubled capacity, and we're doing 900 is what we're planning. So I think that there's plenty of records out there to buy, and I know that people are out experiencing life, enjoying vacations, da 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 da. Don't forget the records, and don't forget the record store, because when the snowstorms come, if you're in the north, you're going to want that, or when it gets cold out. And I think that, there comes a time when all of the running around kind of wears out its welcome, and you want a little bit of nesting again. People sort of forget how mentally calming a little bit of that alone time was. So, and I think with more people working at home now too, they might have a little more time to kind of spin some of their records when they're not sitting at a computer. So, all right, thanks so much for watching, guys. I know that was a lot to throw at you this week, but I had to get it in here somewhere. It's getting to be a long video again. September's on the way, but there's still more stuff coming, so keep you posted. Thanks for watching, as always. Peace and love, yada yada. See you next time.